Sonja, since you're still freshly warmed up from your talk, I was curious, so other than the food buying guide, are there other ways that school districts can access whole grains and whole grain products?
So the food buying guide is just mainly used to help you know how much to purchase and how to contribute. So it's not an actual list of products that you would be purchasing from. So thank you for asking that, because people do question that. So it's not an actual catalog. It's more so just commonly used foods in child nutrition program settings and how they credit toward the meal patterns.
Okay, so then how do they actually access those food products if they want the whole grain products?
So most folks usually either work through a distributor. There's multiple other avenues in which they would actually obtain the products. So I'm sorry, I'm not probably the best person. I don't know if Tim, you want to?
Tim, would that be you?
Sure. And Brian too he has on the ground experience with how that works. But I could say that program operators have to go through a procurement process. They do bids, and they'll put together a list of things that they're looking for, and they can work with the food distributors that they're buying from to purchase whole grain products. Also, the USDA Foods program is an opportunity for schools to. I think Brian even mentioned that one of the products photographs that he was telling you that he was using USDA Foods, and USDA Foods allows program operators to sort of trim their bottom line by receiving foods through the USDA Foods program. Some of the foods that are available there's a long list of foods that are available through the USDA Foods, but in terms of grains, we have whole grain pancakes, whole grain tortillas, whole grain pasta. We have flour and brown rice and rolled oats that are available to the schools through the USDA Foods program. So that's certainly one thing that schools have the option to use in getting whole grains in their storage and ready for putting together on their menus. Brian, did you have anything you want to add to that?
No, that's what we do, and then we look at our products that we get and we figure out what we can add to it to spice it up it really helps us. Cisco is who I use. I don't know if the Cisco rep is still here. They're getting a lot better because they're figuring out that schools are a huge buyer of products, and I had to really work with my distributor. But they've slowly gotten better and better and better.
Okay, thank you. This next question could probably go to maybe any of you, but when a food is labeled as healthy, unfortunately, many people translate that to less tasty. I'm just kind of curious, are many schools simply making the change to whole grains with minimal fanfare? Or are they promoting the new and improved nutrition and healthfulness?
I do know that, and Sonja can help with this one. Let's turn off. Can you hear me? Is this thing on? Yes. I do know that schools that use taste testing ahead of time with their students have a much better success rate at getting kids to be interested in the whole grains that they're offering. And so giving them an opportunity sort of to vote on, a variety of different options through taste testing ahead of time before the school food service director decides to put it on the weekly menu is a good way for the kids to say, hey, I remember when we got to vote on that food, and so I'll get to taste it or get it through my my lunch, and they're more likely to want to take part in that particular meal. Has that been your experience?
Yep. Yeah, that's my experience is, sometimes not giving out very much information when you're dealing with kids is a whole lot better. It's amazing, like I'll use meatloaf, even though we're talking about grain. Meatloaf, there's kids that won't eat meatloaf, but they'll eat a hamburger patty. So we changed the way our meatloaf looked when we prepare it to the kids, but I'm using quinoa in my meatloaf. I'm using wild rice. So I'm finding other ways to get whole grains into my products. And I just watch what's being thrown away and what our kids are eating.
I was just going to add really quickly, there is, I guess, it depends on the food service director. So, folks who have great food service directors like Brian here, definitely they don't have anything to worry about, and he's doing over and above, what's required. There are some that may not have someone who is as experienced. However, we at USDA, we do have some trainings available, and I think, we definitely try to work with the states to ensure that they get those trainings made available to folks in their state. But it is still something that, we're continuing to work on so that more and more folks are being creative and implementing some of the tactics that we're talking about today.
Thank you. Well, I was in my dietetic internship about 5 years ago, so I haven't been an RD for too long, and my 3-week food service rotation down in Auburn School District, for anyone who's local and for whom that means anything, it certainly didn't make me an expert on school food service, but it taught me 2 important things. One, it is hard and important work, and number 2, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about what school food service needs to be doing, and often without any actual understanding. So Tim, I'm kind of curious when you said you were getting considering public comments on kind of shaping guidelines going forward. Who is the public? Is it literally the public? Is it parents, mostly schools?
That's a good question, and I can give you I'll be here afterwards. We can talk about the rulemaking process ad nauseum if you'd like to, but I can give you a very brief answer to that. And that is whenever the government puts out a proposed rule, they'll say this is what we propose to do, and we put it in the Federal Register, and we invite the general public, whoever that may be. We may get specific in the preamble to the regulation, saying we're looking for specific stakeholders to provide us feedback on specific components of what we're proposing to do. But in general, moms, dads, even students can go to the Federal Register and read what we're proposing and provide input that is thoughtful in terms of what we're trying to do. And that really is the way any agency in the federal government produces regulations. Is we start with a proposed rule, we collect comments either for a 60-day period, or a 90-day period, or a 120-day period. Sometimes we extend it if we need to, but we collect the information from the public. All of those comments are submitted to the www.regulations.gov, and then the government goes through and we sift through all of the comments and we respond to them in a general way in the next rulemaking process, which is usually a final rule or an interim final rule. And in the preamble, we'll say, we got comments about this particular topic, this is what the public said, and then we'll say, well, this is what the department has decided we're going to do based on those comments. Is that responsive?
I think that did it, yes, thank you. Well, we've received the 5-minute warning sign, so I think this might be a good time to open it up to any questions, and the microphone is going around.
Chef Jones, very inspiring what you had to say. My question is kind of about what you're doing in Montana. How much flexibility are you given when you're running one of these, giant test kitchens, as you call it, and what I'm asking is, how scalable is your mentality? Because I don't know, I'm very naive when it comes to this. I have kids. That's as close as I am to it. But I know that I wouldn't let them eat at school. Like, we make their lunch every day. But how scalable is what you're doing? I mean, are you getting away with something that you're not supposed to be doing? Or, to me, it kind of seems like, and I'm not trying to get you in trouble, but it kind of seems like these rules and regulations are sort of designed to push people in your position to buy pre-made food that you just warm up.
That is an excellent question, because one of the phone calls I got from a parent was, how could you serve my kid a cookie in a package and then fruit? And I said, excuse me, because I was on the road. What they were referring to was the benefit bars. They're loaded with protein. I mean, it's a good deal. But they were upset. They didn't understand that I give them was a very healthy breakfast. I mean, it had everything in it. I do not I go out of my way to make sure that I follow the guidelines and everything that I have. But I'm also a private school. We operate on 100% donation. So it's up to me to be a good steward of the money, to run it as a profitable cafeteria. Their guidelines are workable, but I'm also blessed because she made the reference that I raise our own buffalo. Very lean, and in DNA, it's already low in sodium. So I have a little bit more flexibility in that alone, and that's the tough one. The sodium levels are huge. And the manufacturers, I mean, you go look at a can of tomato paste, tomato stuff, and you look at it, and it's loaded with sodium. You know, buying it off the shelf, ready to go beans. We don't buy beans in a can. I have some in case of an emergency, but we soak them. They don't have any sodium. So it's these things that the USDA has asked us to do that we have to follow. And is it more labor intensive? Yeah, it is. But yeah, so no, that's a great question, because I try and stay away from the ready to eat, and I found out in my cafeterias, the ready to eat days are my more chaos days. You know, where if my cooks are busy cooking and they're prepping and we're doing the vegetables and everything else, it goes along better and they feel better. So I don't know if that answered it or not, but.